feel like Nikon is having a bit of a Sony A7 III moment with this new Nikon Z52. And by that, I mean an incredible piece of technology that is everything that you would need for photography and video creating for the most part. There's a few asterisks, but not a lot, in a really cost-effective package.
Also, all the footage you're going to see has been color corrected by the new Imagen beta. So I selected 2 parameters and hit go, and it color corrected this entire video. And if you want to use the system for free while it's in beta, there's a link down below for the waitlist. It's funny because this is Lindsay's car at home. In Iceland this week, the Z5II, and I have the 40mm f2 and the 20mm f1.8. And that's it. That's all. If you're not familiar with the Sony A7 III and its contribution to the market, in 2018, Sony changed the consumer imaging landscape. When they released the Sony A7 III, they got everything right. Great eye autofocus, great video, great stills, and a crazy low price point. And it kind of became the camera for everyone, for weddings, for portraits, for YouTube. And Sony went from kind of maybe a bottom tier player to one of the best in the industry. The A7 III made mirrorless a reasonable option for price and features and got a lot of people into full frame mirrorless from their DSLRs. Similar to the Z5II, the A7 III was marketed as a basic entry level model, but neither are by any means basic. The A7 III quickly became Sony's best-selling mirrorless camera ever and played a huge role in Sony taking significant market share from Canon and Nikon. It was also a camera that locked a lot of people into the Sony ecosystem. It built an active and engaged customer base that had lenses, and they were just waiting for the next incredible Sony releases like the A7 III and the FX3, and even more expensive cameras like the A9 series and the A1. Sony also did what a company that wanted to make money would do, and they started pushing a lot of the customers up market. A lot of people came in for this basic A7 III that did pretty much everything they needed, but everyone quickly found out that if you wanted just a little bit more camera, you were actually going to have to pay significantly more.
Now, the Nikon Z52. So this is kind of everything you need as a camera.
I wonder how good these onboard mics are. Maybe we don't even need a shotgun microphone. Maybe this is the new way to film. So here we are at the glacier, the end of it. This kind of looks like a rock, but it's actually just ice. That part's rock. This part's ice.
So I'm gonna, I guess, talk through my thought process for purchasing a camera, as well as the recent history of Nikon and what has brought them to this camera at this point, because I feel like it really is a game changer for Nikon. And you'll know, Nikon had a bit of a slow start to mirrorless, and it was mostly for autofocus, and low light autofocus just wasn't up to like a Sony or Canon standard. Sony kind of led the transition to mirrorless, that they've been doing mirrorless for a long time now. Canon caught up really quick. Nikon took a few years. It basically took until the Nikon Z9. When that camera came out, Nikon really was back in the game, but it was a bigger camera. It had a battery grip and it was really expensive. And it was very interesting a few months later to see the Nikon Z8, which is basically everything that was in the Z9 into a smaller package and for less money. And the Nikon ZF came out, which is that retro styled body. And it's a lot of fun to use that camera, as well as it comes with a lot of the technology that it was in that Z9, that now all of a sudden it's in a much less expensive, smaller camera body.
Bring it to the hotel bar. They'll make drinks with it.
And I feel like this is the time that Nikon started to tip themselves really back into the market. They had something at a lower price point, they had something at a pro level, and everything was up to the industry standard. Then enter the Nikon Z6 III. The Nikon Z6 III was a new sensor, so it was a stacked sensor which gave a little less dynamic range than the sensor that's in the Z5II. But it solved one problem, so it took the ZF into something that was a lot more ergonomic, especially for myself as a wedding photographer. The ZF is amazing, but by the end of the day, even if you do have the additional grip on there, it just isn't the best ergonomic experience. The Z6 III came in and solved that, and I was very, very happy with that camera as a main wedding camera for a little bit. Now, enter the Z5II. It's even less expensive than the Z6 III, and if you're doing photography only, it comes with everything you need. The asterisk for me, and the reason that I can't use this as a main camera, is only because it doesn't do 4K 60 with no crop. So if you do go into 4K 60 mode in video, you're gonna get an APS-C crop. For me, I do a lot of photo and video coverage on wedding days, and I have to be able to shoot 4K 60 with no crop. Otherwise, this 40mm lens is going to become an APS-C crop as soon as I go into video mode, which is not so good. But at 4K 60 does not matter, especially in kind of that hybrid context. If that doesn't matter to you at all, then the Z5II is the perfect camera for you. It comes in at an even better price point than the Z6 III, as well as it comes with a slightly, I guess, better sensor. Even though it's an older sensor, people seem to prefer the sensor that's in this camera a lot more. And it comes with pretty much all the autofocus tech. So shooting this beside a Z8, a Z9, you're not gonna notice that much difference when it comes to autofocus, even though those are the pro cameras that have a much faster sensor in it, so the readout is faster. This is a slower sensor readout, but overall in real life performance, unless you're doing incredibly fast moving, you need high megapixel files for your fast action sports photography, you're gonna be really happy with this. Even this camera, 11 frames a second mechanical, I will never shoot that on a wedding day. That I will maybe put it at 5 frames per second for a first kiss, or maybe for a moment where they're throwing confetti or something. But other than that, I will never really be above 5 frames per second.
And we have the largest kitchen that I've ever had at an Airbnb. It begins over here and goes all the way back over there, which is pretty incredible. The space has actually 13 beds, but it's just Lindsay and myself here. The price did not match the fact that there are 13 beds. And inside is pretty nice, but outside, there's a hot tub, there's a sauna. Let's go outside and see if it's impossibly too windy to record anything, because that's how it's been all week. Confirmed too loud. Sony A7 IV license plate, is that legal to have in this video? I don't know. Sauna? Hot tub? Wind? Now let's talk about wind noise. I'm trying to find a non-windy space with good light, but unfortunately instead of a really nice background, bad light, bouncing off, black building, not good light. Good light, boring background. I'll take the boring background, good light. And the Nikon ecosystem is incredibly overpowered when it comes to lenses. So the glass you're putting in front of the camera, one, the sensor is amazing. The files out of everything Nikon right now are amazing. The glass that goes in front of it, equally as amazing. If you're going to those 1.2 primes, you are going to be absolutely thrilled. They are heavy, they are expensive. I'm pretty happy with the 1.8 S primes, as well as the 50 and 35 1.4. But if you do want that bonus best lens ever made, you have a 35-1.2, which is incredible. Maybe my favorite lens of all time. Am I buying it? It's expensive, so I don't know yet. The 50-1.2 that I know is a lot of wedding photographers' main lens, and the 85-1.2, which is just a phenomenal lens. And if you're a portrait photographer, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. But one thing I would like to see is some smaller primes. Some of the 40 f2 that I have on this trip, I would love to see more in that form factor, even if it is an f2.4, 2.5, 2.8 prime. If it's something smaller, I would love to see that for both travel as well as weddings. Now, if you are considering other brands right now, I would say that Nikon has probably the best, very, I would call it affordable in full frame terms. It's an incredibly affordable Z5II. And I think when put up against any other brand's competitor in that space, I don't think anyone saw this one coming. I think when you go against any other brand's competitor in this space, I feel like the Z5II wins, at least for me, when I'm thinking of anything remotely close in the Canon ecosystem or Sony or even Panasonic, maybe more on the video side of things. I still feel like I'm choosing this. You get NRAW, which is crazy in this small package here. And then Fuji doesn't really have a direct competitor because they don't do a full frame camera. But even in comparison to like an X-T5, I feel like I would still be going for the Z5II over that, even though the lenses might be a little bit bigger and it might be a little bit more expensive overall. I feel like the benefits outweigh the negatives. The Z5II is just a really, really, really good kit.
Things you do miss out on, you don't get a top LCD like you would on the Z6 III. You get this wheel over here, and you also don't get a lock on the wheel, which is a bit of a bummer. So you can bump this and it can change. Maybe set all your user settings to the same thing that you would want your manual settings to, just in case you do bump that. Other than that, I am very surprised that they have released this camera, to be completely honest. This is something that I think is for sure gonna kill sales for a lot of people of the Z6 III, as well as even the more expensive products. Like even if you're comparing this versus the Z8 and you're like, what does the Z8 give me or the Z9 give me that isn't in this? It's really hard to find a lot of justifiable differences, which is kind of crazy for a product that's priced in such a competitive way.
Sony felt this as well, that when they released the A7 III, the price was too good, and it absolutely took sales from their more expensive cameras. It also set customer expectations way too high for what a basic camera should be. After the Sony A7 III, Sony really had to work hard to justify higher prices for more expensive cameras, or they would actually look like a downgrade. The other problem is the Sony A7 III aged too well. In fact, it is still in production and available new from Sony right now. Even if you are looking at the next model in the series, which is the A7 IV, it's sometimes hard to justify the extra cost. So the massive popularity and industry domination obviously did a lot of good things for Sony, but it for sure slowed down customer upgrade cycles. Is this what the Nikon Z52 is going to do as well? We'll just have to wait and see.
There it is, the Nikon Z5II. Great week in Iceland here with it, and I really enjoyed the experience. Love the files, and really no complaints overall. One complaint still, the video only still shoots to one card. So I hope that something happens in the future with Nikon, because they do seem pretty committed to only doing video to one single card. I don't know the reason why, but I really do hope that they start to allow us to do dual recording to both cards in a camera, because it is a bit annoying as a hybrid photo video creator to only have backup for my photos and not to have backup for my video files as well. Any questions, feel free to put them down below. If you are considering this camera, you're not going to be disappointed. It really does feel too good to be true, and it's for sure one of the pivotal moments in the Nikon ecosystem, and just Nikon being back as a big player. So I'm interested to see how the next few years work out, because this is for sure going to be one of the best-selling cameras. And maybe also on that note, if you do want to get one of these cameras, typically things that are in big demand are in short supply. So get your order in now if this is a camera that you want, because it might take you a little while to get it.
And if you did enjoy my automated color correction, get in on the waitlist for Imagen video down below. There's a link, and while it is still in beta, it will be free to use, which is amazing. So get on the waitlist now and get first access.